as I think I'm probably going to be doing it throughout. Okay. First of all, welcome. It's really great that you're joining us and that you're interested in finding out more about the BA Theatre Studies at Rose Bruford. If you're joining us, just make sure you have your cameras off, please, and your microphones off as well. We are recording this and we do share these recordings on YouTube. So we need to make sure for privacy purposes that none of you appear on it. There will be options to ask questions at the end and you can turn your microphone on then and that's fine. So again, welcome. It's really great that you're joining us to find out more about the program. I'm going to take you through a PowerPoint, just giving you some information in general about the program. And then I'm going to hand over to my students who I'll ask them a few questions and they can talk about the program. And then you will, like I said, have the opportunity to ask questions yourself. Great. Well, let's get going with it. Okay, so this is what we're going to cover. So general information about the course and the college. We'll think about why you might want to study online. There's lots of different options. You certainly don't have to study online, but it's a great option for a lot of people. We'll go over the course structure, any tech requirements for studying with us, the student experience, which our students can tell you about, and any questions that you might have. Okay, so first of all, I'll tell you a little bit about the college. That's a picture of the college behind the big splodge there. It's a really beautiful campus, although a lot of our online students never actually make it there until graduation, but you can certainly visit if you want to, and there's definitely activities that happen at the college that you're really welcome to join in on. So Rose Bruford, if you don't know it already, is a world-class conservatoire. And we only do theater and performing arts. We're really good at that because we have various programs, but they're all located within the area of theater and the performing arts. So Bruford introduced the first university level acting BA in the 1970s. Now all the conservatoires do that, and quite a few university departments as well. But since then, we've continued a culture of innovation in theater education, and that includes this program that we're talking about, the BA Theater Studies. We are the only full BA Theater Studies that's online that we know of. We were, as a college, awarded gold in the Teaching Excellence Framework. For those of you who aren't in the UK or who don't know about that, that's a government framework. We have the Research Excellence and the Teaching Excellence Framework, and there's a number of kind of things a college or a university has to accomplish in order to be awarded gold. It's mainly based on student feedback. So we're very proud of our gold award. The staff, both the college in general and on this program, includes professional practitioners, so people who are active theater makers themselves, but also academics, so people who are, their job is the study of theater, the research of theater. And quite a few of us, me included, are both of those things. So we combine professional with academic study. So like I said, the BA Theatre Studies is the only conservatoire-based online full degree program. There's some other programs that are online that will do a sort of top up, but we're the only ones who will offer you a full degree. The college itself has degree granting power. So I get this question a lot from people asking, you know, does Rose Bruford provide the degrees? And yes, we do. So you graduate from Rose Bruford. It says Rose Bruford on your graduation certificate. You can come to the graduation ceremony on campus. And our degrees have the exact same standing as all the other higher education institutions in the United Kingdom. Okay. So in terms of the degree itself, it's a degree that's recognized worldwide. You can take it up to the honors level, which is what most students do. The degree is focused on the theory, history, and context of theater and performance. So we won't train you to be an actor. I get that question a lot. Can I kind of qualify as an actor? You can't, although we have a lot of people who have already trained as an actor and then come onto the program, because we help students to understand what theater and performance actually are. So you might have those skills already, or you might not, and you just want to get a more in-depth knowledge of that. But saying that, we do a lot through practice. So we believe that you understand concepts better when you can actually apply those concepts. So, for example, we have modules in acting. So we won't train you to be an actor, but you will do a little bit of acting in that. We have playwriting, directing, all of those things. You will actively write plays, direct small pieces of work, and so on. So it's definitely not the kind of program where you just sit and read and answer questions. So all the teaching and learning takes place online. We don't at present have any residential aspects to the course, but we may in future. There's part-time or full-time options. So it's accessible to most people. If you have a bit of time in your week, so a minimum of 10 to 12 study hours is required to take one module, then you can undertake the course. If you don't have that much time in your week, it might be best to wait until you do. But you can go all the way up until full-time, which requires about 35 to 36 hours of study per week. And we're flexible, so you can choose which pathway you take. So students are assessed in a variety of ways, including process-based learning and formal assignments. So by process-based learning, what I mean is we look at your coursework. We don't assess it in the same way that we would an assignment, where we're kind of reading it in depth and kind of not necessarily marking it for correctness, because it's often difficult to be correct or say what is correct in theater and performance. But the coursework is more looking at how you engage with the tasks, because the tasks are learning tools in and of themselves, and how you progress. So we really want you to actually kind of start in one position and end up in another position. We don't expect you to come onto the course fully formed, fully knowing how to be a student. We're really interested in providing guidance to you in not just the topic of theater and performance, but also really core academic skills. So learning takes place via our VLE, which is something, VLE are letters that our students hear a lot. That's a virtual learning environment. And we also use other online platforms. We use Teams a lot more than we used to. A lot of the learning takes place on Teams, and we also sometimes use Zoom as well. So students begin at level 4. So for those of you who are in the UK, A levels are level 3, and then level 4 is your first year of university. And for those of you outside of the UK, it is level 4 is the equivalent of your freshman year or your first year of university. And then you progress through levels 5, and then 6 is your final stage. We do have an opportunity, if you have previous study and you've accumulated some credits within the last 5 years, we can potentially give you credit for those. That's a sort of separate discussion, but if you're interested in applying and you think, oh, I took this course a few years ago and I passed some modules and I have credit for that, maybe I can use that. Just get in touch with me and we can have a conversation about whether that will work for you or not. So in order to obtain an honors degree, at the very end, you complete a 10,000 word independent research project. This is usually a really, it's an intense period, but also a really enjoyable period, because you get to choose a topic that you want to research. And that could be something that's really grabbed your imagination from one of the modules. It could be something related to your work, your professional practice, or something else that perhaps you want to change direction in your career, and you might use the IRP as a jumping off point into that. So that's a really wonderful way to finish your degree off. So why would you want to study online? Obviously, in the last few years, a lot more people have been studying online. We used to be kind of an unusual thing, but now all of a sudden, loads of people are studying online. But there's really good reasons for doing it. It works brilliantly for some people. So first of all, it's flexible. So you can undertake full-time study, which is 6 modules per year, or part-time, which could be as few as 2 modules or as many as 4 modules per year. And you can change that from year to year. So, one year your job might not be as demanding and you can take more modules. And then the next year you might have to revert back to fewer. And we can do that from year to year. It fits in around paid work and caring duties. Um, pretty well. You do have to have time for it, though. Sometimes we have people who come and say, well, I should be able to combine this with work. But if you're working 40 to 50 hours a week, it's not going to combine well with that. But, if you're working a little less than that, or you have time in your week, if you're a carer, we have a lot of parents, a lot of people caring for elderly parents as well, but you have some time to yourself during the week, it will fit around that. Because basically, apart from our webinars, you choose when you complete the coursework and so on. So it allows students to undertake practice-based work alongside study. So as I mentioned, we have quite a few students on the course who are professional theater makers. So they might be actors or directors or stage managers, designers, and they just want to have that more of a kind of academic understanding of theater. And that's great because it's really fascinating for us to see how the work on the degree influences their practice, but also their practice really influences their study. And it's really wonderful to hear from theater practitioners. And this includes amateur theater practitioners as well. We don't really differentiate between professional and amateur. We love to hear how that work then influences your study, and you can share insights about your work with your fellow students. Online study prepares students for an industry that's becoming increasingly reliant on digital technology, obviously to a much greater extent now, thanks to COVID. For a while, all performance in most countries was online. We're going back now to live performance, but digital technology was part of live performance before COVID, and it's going to increasingly be so. And so the fact that you're studying online, you're using digital technology, means that you're better prepared for these kind of changes in the landscape of theater and performance. You're already used to thinking about how performance and how meaning can be transmitted in a digital space. So it allows you to access high quality specialist provision without having to leave home. I am sitting at home right now with my slippers on, and you can do that too. And it's really fantastic to be able to do that. You don't have to pay for transport fees. You don't have to move. You can, like I said, wear your slippers when you're studying. And that really works well for quite a lot of people. And my favorite thing about it is that we have this beautiful international cohort from literally all around the world, from Australia to Asia, to South America, to North America. And it means that you're making contact with students from across the globe. We love it as tutors because we learn so much from our students about international theater practice. Students love working with each other. You do have to do quite a lot of collaborative work on the course. So even though it's distance learning, you're not really that distant because you're regularly communicating with other students. You're sharing work with other students. You're often given tasks where you have to collaborate. And some people build really wonderful friendships and sometimes working partnerships as well. And it's really amazing to be able to do some work with someone who is, literally on the other side of the world from you. Okay, so the structure of the course. We've got 2 semesters. So semester 1 runs from the beginning of September, and semester 2 runs from January. And then the course finishes for the year mid-May. So in each semester, we have an induction or preparation week, and that is the 1st to the 7th of September and the 1st to the 7th of January. If you're a new student, that's an induction week for you, and there are webinars which you need to attend, and other kind of sessions that you need to attend just to get you familiarized with the course. You get to know other students, you get to understand the tech setup and so on. We definitely don't kind of just throw you in. We guide you through what you need to set up and so on. And if you're still not getting it, if you're not a very tech confident person, that's okay. We will offer you help. So once you're no longer a new student, that becomes a preparation week, which you use to set up all your links for your coursework and basically get yourself sorted for the modules to begin on the 7th. So each module is worth 20 credits, UK credits. Credits work differently in different countries, but if you need that information, we can provide it to you, what the equivalents are. And as I said before, each one requires 10 to 12 study hours per week at a minimum. You may be the type of person who, for example, English might not be your native language, so it takes you a little longer to read or watch or understand things. So it may take you longer than that. You may be neurodivergent, so reading might take you a little bit longer. So just be aware of those things that might slow you down a little bit. And if you are applying for the course, be as realistic as possible about how much time you have available to you. A lot of times people want to get through the course as quickly as possible, not because they don't enjoy it, but because they just want to move on with their lives. And that's great, but it's far better to be realistic about your time than to overcommit and find yourself burning out. So modules are made up of 3 units and they run concurrently. So if you were going to say take 3 modules, so you were going to go full time, you would do all 3 modules at the same time. So you wouldn't say finish one, then start the other, then start the other. And your assessment is based on a coursework portfolio, which is an online portfolio where you post responses to tasks and some reflections and some extra research. And also what is currently called the Reflective Journal, but we're renaming it for September to be the Applied Learning Archive. It's basically the same thing, but with a slightly clearer title. And that's where you undertake slightly more independent work. And then those things combine with an assignment. And you're also assessed on your engagement in webinars and on the student forums. So each module has 1 webinar per unit. So that means there's 3 units. So you'll have 3 webinars, 1 approximately per month. And then you get a one-to-one tutorial with the module tutor at the end before your assignment deadlines and so on, just to discuss your progress. The webinars are scheduled at the beginning of the semester. So we basically do this interesting knitting job where we find everyone's, when they're free and their schedules and their time zones, and we try to find webinars that everyone can make. If you live kind of far away from the UK, you may find that some webinars are later on in the evening for you or very early in the morning. We do try to avoid middle of the night. But it's always a little challenging to schedule them, but we do try to do it in as flexible a way as possible. And students will also interact via the module forum and Teams. So students sometimes have to post certain task responses on the forum. And the idea is that you're sharing your work with the other students, they're sharing their work with you, you read their input, they read yours, and you all learn from each other and you comment. And it's a really useful way of learning because we tend to get stuck in our little kind of pathways in terms of how we always do things. But then you'll see someone else has done this really amazing kind of creative response and you think, oh, actually, maybe I could try that next time. And then same thing for you, you'll do something really wonderful, amazing, and other people will look at your work and think, that's really good, I might give that a go. So it's all about kind of challenging and stretching yourself and learning from each other. And Teams is also a social space as well. So students are increasingly organizing social events, kind of get-togethers. We've had scratch nights. We've had, I think, share your pets, not literally share your pets, but your pet photos, different things like that. You can easily contact your fellow students on Teams and meet up with them and so on. Okay, so tech requirements. You need a laptop. That's pretty obvious, or a PC, I suppose, with a working webcam and a microphone, or you could have a separate webcam if you don't have one integrated into your laptop. That's the basics. Obviously, very difficult to do an online course without those things. You need a reliable internet connection because obviously everything is transmitted over the internet. And we provide everything else. So that's all you need: laptop, microphone, webcam, internet. So all the other software that we use, including the VLE, Microsoft 365, and Mahara, we provide for you. We help you to learn how to use them as well. And Microsoft 365 includes the Microsoft suite. So you don't need to purchase Word or anything like that. We have it there for you. And we'll train you how to use it. So that induction week is really important in that way. We take you through how to use the various tools. We help you to get set up with your portfolios and so on. And we will definitely hold your hand if you need your hand to be held. We're happy to do one-to-ones with people if they're just not getting it. And you should never feel embarrassed about that, because some people are really wonderful at IT and some people aren't, but it doesn't really matter. You can still take the course. Okay, so that's enough for me. I will stop sharing this. Okay, so we've got Megan here, who are two of my wonderful students. And are their student ambassadors. They're also peer tutors. And Megan's a student rep as well. So they do a lot for the program. And in fact, we have a really high participation rate of students in terms of those extra jobs and so on, and a really supportive network as well of students helping each other out. So I guess actually, Megan, let's start with you. I'd like you to talk a little bit about that, about the sort of student experience and kind of making friends and getting to know others, people, and collaborating.
Okay, hello. So I think the first kind of student kind of interaction you'll probably have when you join is a peer tutor. So me and Amy are both peer tutors, and what they are an older student. Well, I say an older student, that's like school terms, isn't it? You're an older student who's been on the course for longer, and we're assigned to a newbie, as I call it, and basically our job is to be that kind of friendly face on the other side of the email, just for any questions to ask, because I think when you start something new, it's the same with me for anything, like a new job or like you go somewhere new, there's always questions that you have that you may think are a bit silly. They're not. And so kind of I feel like I, as a peer tutor, am that person to ask a silly question to, even though they're not silly. So that's kind of one part. Obviously, Karen mentioned we in our courses we do a lot of kind of collaborative work where we work with other students, and I think that for me was in level 4 was the kind of it opened the door to actually all the other students on my course, and I think I felt that I was very much alone in my little study and I didn't do any work, but actually the collaborative task, I was like, oh wow, look at all these amazing people, and there are some amazing people in this course that I can collaborate with, talk to, because actually it's a little bit difficult when I'm studying and working, and I can just chat to them and just talk about my day as well. So those kind of collaborative tasks and the webinars are really useful for just talking to people and making sure that you're with other people, because it's a university experience. It's very different, but you do kind of get that social experience still, even though we are online in our own little boxes. And then the student reps, I am also a student rep. So the student reps it's very clear, we represent the students, and we have student reps from level 4, 5 and 6. So any course-based kind of queries, issues, just comments basically can go through us, and then we have meetings once a semester, I'm going to go with that. Yep. And we kind of feed that back to Karen and to Jane and to all the people who make the really amazing decisions, and we can feed that back. So there's a lot of we work very collaboratively. It's not really a kind of them and us type thing. So yeah, it is. There are so many opportunities to talk to people. We've got the Teams page where you can just comment and people post things. Yeah, it's a really, while it feels like it should be like a lonely thing, it's really not. There's so many really, really, really wonderful people in this uni. So yeah.
That's lovely to hear. I feel the same. I think we have a really extraordinary group of students from all walks of life. And that's what I love. We have people from the age of 18 who've just left school all the way up to their 70s. Like obviously there's the theater practitioners, but also lots of people working in education, and then just, you know, other people who are like dentists and lawyers and engineers who just really love theater. And that all of that kind of diversity makes it quite an extraordinary learning experience, I think, because everyone is offering all these different perspectives. And we do try, we're forever coming up with new ideas and things. We introduced study groups,
Yes.
Shut Up and Work. That's been pretty good, where students actually get online together and kind of greet each other at the beginning of the session, work for an hour, and then check in with each other at the end. So there is lots of support in that way. There's also lots of support from the college itself. Student services are on hand if you have any problems, including kind of mental health support and counseling and all of that. Great. Amy is just starting her IRP. So she is actually at the very end of her degree, which is very exciting. I think, Amy, you started when I started, I think. So it's been a while, hasn't it? But Amy, maybe you could tell us, first of all, what you're doing for your IRP, because I think it's always really exciting for students to hear the possibilities of what they can do, but just about your kind of journey through the degree and kind of what your perceptions were in the beginning and how you feel about it now.
Okay. Yeah, I think like any new student starting something, you kind of feel a bit overwhelmed. There's lots of information to take in and things, but everyone, you know, tutors and everything over the course of the, you know, the whole entire course, you get to know your tutors really well. There aren't usually, you know, hundreds of people. You don't get lost in a sea of people, so you get a lot of support and you get to know the students in your cohort really well as well. It's been great. I can't quite believe I've got to this point, to be honest. I thought it seemed so long. You know, when you start your degree, you think, you know, years, and it has been years. It's been 6 years, but it's gone so quickly, so quickly. So I am starting, my IRP, which is an independent research project. So I think in other terms, it would be a dissertation. And it's the opportunity to do a research project on, well, it's whatever you want, really, as long as it's kind of, you know, has a link to theatre. And I have an interest in dance and theatre. So mine is more in musical theatre, and I am studying about a choreographer named Jerome Robbins, who some people will know very well. So I'm just kind of embarking on that journey. It's quite vast in terms of, because it's so open and you can pick whatever you want. I got a bit scared at first. So I was like, oh wow, I've got freedom, you know, I've got all these things to learn. And I've had to kind of try and kind of now focus it on you know, my subject. So yeah, it's been great. I can't believe I'm here and feel proud. You know, you do feel proud as a student to kind of go through this journey, and I'll feel incredibly proud at the end once I graduate. That'll be such a milestone for me personally, for my family. There isn't many of us in my family who have gone and completed a degree as well. So that's something that, you know, me and my family are very proud of, and it's something that my children have seen me work hard as well. And you know, when they're complaining about their homework that takes 10 minutes, I'm saying, look how much I've written. And then they're like, okay, mum.
That's a really beautiful observation, actually, about how the fact that you're working at home in your own environment means that your family are all part of it as well. And they can kind of see what you're doing. And sometimes they even appear in your videos as well.
Yeah, I was going to
Yeah.
say, I wrote them in a couple of
Yeah.
times, directed them.
They get dragged in whether they like it or not. But yeah, it's really lovely to share that journey with your family. And you know, they become quite invested in it a lot of times. They don't always understand what it is we're doing, but you know, they can see that you're actually doing things and working hard and so on. And so it's, yeah, we really welcome people who've got kids and you know, other things. And also what you were saying about being one of the first people in your family to do a degree, we have quite a high number of first generation kind of university entrants, and I love that, because I think anybody should be able to study a theater studies degree. It shouldn't just be for people who've got lots of money and parents who, you know, who can pay for everything. If you want to study this, you should be able to. We feel that way about neurodivergent students as well. We absolutely positively welcome them onto the course. We're trying our best to make it really friendly. And in fact, we do attract a really high number of neurodivergent students because I think it offers that flexibility to kind of do things on your own terms. And again, I really love that all these different perspectives really enrich the course. Great. So we'll turn over to you to ask some questions, but as a little bit of a warm up, could you please open up your chat? If you go, the chat button is right beside share screen. And could you just write in the chat where in the world you're joining us from? You don't need to be as specific as your street name, but a country or an area would be good to know, just so we can see the diversity of people who have joined us. Hong Kong, fantastic. Tokyo. Dubai, wow. Our social media is working. We're trying to get a lot more people kind of in that way. Okay, Newcastle, we have quite a lot of people in the Northeast. In fact, we've got one student from Hong Kong already. We don't have anyone from Tokyo. We've got a few students from the Emirates. Northamptonshire, yep. Great. Okay, that's so useful to know. Oh, another Hong Kong. Fantastic. Okay, good. All right. So if you haven't typed it in, you don't have to, but now feel free to ask your questions. So you can ask a question of me, of Megan, of Amy. You can type your question. You can turn your microphone on and just speak. And we will sit here in the awkward silence, because we're used to awkward silences. We can handle awkward silences until someone asks a question. So don't be shy. Actually, I say I'm used to awkward silences. I'm not at all. I always feel the need to fill them. Amy could do a little bit of Jerome Robbins choreography for us. Okay, we've got a question. Hurrah. How many students do you ideally take in a year? Well, the good thing about being an online course is that we can take as many as we want, basically. So really, acceptance onto the course isn't necessarily about filling numbers. It's really about whether we think you're suited to the course or not. There is, of course, a limit. And, you know, if we had, so normally we start in a year, we have about 30 students. That's a sort of average for us. If all of a sudden we had 100 students, we might have to cap it. So sometimes I always put that warning when I'm sending emails to potential applicants saying, get your application in early just in case we all of a sudden have to cut it off, because obviously we would need to have enough staff to do that. But yeah, there is no kind of ideal, but the average is about 30. And we have 2 entrance points as well. So people can start in September, or they can also start in January. What are the entry requirements for international students, and how does the part-time schedule work? Okay, so there's no difference in terms of entry requirements for international students. We actually don't classify anyone as international or domestic. I guess it is. We treat everybody the same tuition, same entry process. So yeah, it doesn't really matter where you are in the world. You're all the same to us. In terms of the part-time schedule, so you can take either 1 module per semester or 2. So 1 module would be if you have 10 to 12 study hours a week. 2 would be 20 to 24. And so you would take those in 1 semester, and then you would take either 1 or 2 the following semester. So if you're, I think most students do 2. That's the kind of average. So that would mean that you would have 2 webinars in a month, and you'd be undertaking 2 different modules. Often those modules have a very different focus, but it's really interesting to see how they work together. So you just be following those 2 along, but you could also just start with 1. So if you weren't really sure if how you were going to get on with study, it's absolutely fine just to ease yourself in and see how you go. I think it's quite wise actually to do that. And then if you find that you're just flying through with just 1 module, we can always move you up to taking 2 in the following semester.
I was going to say, I did exactly that. I tested the waters with 1 at first to see how I got on with my schedule with work and around the children and things. And I actually thought, okay, I've got a bit of time. I've still got some time. I'm managing okay. And then I moved up to 2. But yeah, it's quite flexible like that, so you can move back down if your work schedule suddenly becomes really hectic, especially if you work in theatre and you know that you've got a really heavy program or something. Then yeah, it's really nice to be able to have that option.
Absolutely. And also, life happens, right? people, as we all know from the last few years, people sometimes need to be putting their focus on their family more for some time, and so on. And we're really understanding of that. And we try to be as flexible as possible and allow people to kind of move around to suit them. So how many hours per week would you be studying if you were studying for 3 years? So to finish the degree in 3 years, it's just over 3 years actually with the IRP. You would have to be doing 6 modules per year, so 3 per semester, and that's considered full-time. You can graduate without honors, and that will make your degree a little shorter, so you wouldn't do the IRP at the end. It really depends on what you're going to be doing after the degree, though, whether that's a good option or not a good option. Most people do honors because it's required. Say, for example, if you want to go into teaching, you should really have an honors degree. If you want to do your master's or anything like that, you should have an honors degree. But then if you're not going to do any of those things, it doesn't matter quite so much. So you can finish with what we call an ordinary BA. Any other questions? Like, do feel free to speak if you would rather speak. We don't judge your typing, by the way. If you make typos and so on, it won't jeopardize your chances of getting onto the degree. While we're waiting, Megan, how about you tell us, because I know you love to talk. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the kind of practice-based side of the course where you get to kind of do creative things?
Okay, so this is actually quite apt because both of my modules this year are a bit more practice-based. So I'm fully practiced out at the moment. So the practice-based modules are actually I really like them because I'm a bit of a, if you haven't realised, I'm a bit of a fidget actually, in case anyone's like seen me in the corner of their eye, I'm a bit of a fidget. So it's actually really nice to step away, because I think what this course is really good at is understanding that you don't have to just write chunks and chunks and chunks of writing for a task. I love a mind map, so I can explore a task with a mind map or with the practice-based modules. Like, for example, I'm doing the playwriting one and the musical theatre one at the moment. Woohoo! There's loads of different things. So like, I've done some singing, but I've also done some playwriting and some exploration with character. Karen got me to do something really weird at the weekend.
With the instrument thing.
Yeah, very odd. But it's all really good fun. And with that, it means that it's breaking up the coursework a little bit, because you're doing other things, and it feels less of a, I'm going to say less of a chore, because it can feel like you get back, well, I don't know about for me, but I get back from work after quite a heavy day, and I'm doing some university work, and actually some of those really practical based modules and the activities are really nice to do. It feels like I'm engaging the creativity in my brain. I'm like, yeah, I'm back. I'm Megan again. So yeah, I'm doing the playwriting module at the moment, which is fab, by the way. It's a lot of work, but it's
saying
fab.
that because I'm the tutor on it.
Yeah. It's really great. It's really great. No, it is excellent. And the musical theatre one is good fun as well. So and they've got directing, which I know some of my peers really love the directing one. And there's just loads to do. But also in level 4, I did loads of practical activities. And it just breaks up a bit. You feel like you're doing I just feel like the course is really good at engaging loads of different learning styles and types, and different types of people as well. So I'm way more visual, not as much of a writer. So it works really well. And that's what I do really like, because I don't have to always write reams of writing. I do most of the time, but I don't always have to. And it's really nice when you get to do a range of things. So yeah, I rambled on a bit there, but it's
okay.
Great.
All good stuff. Yeah, I mean, we do actually encourage students to think about alternative ways of responding to tasks. So often kind of, you don't have to, like Megan said, you don't always have to write your responses. And sometimes that's not even the best form to reply. And we like you to think about what is the best form that A, will help you to answer the question, and B, works well for you. Although we also want you to challenge yourself sometimes and try things that make you feel a little bit uncomfortable. And indeed, some of the tasks will make you feel uncomfortable and you won't want to do them, but you'll do them, and then you'll feel really pleased with yourself for having tried something that scared you a bit. But yeah, we encourage students to use video and audio and diagrams, and our students are really amazing at finding all sorts of apps that will help them to visually respond to things. So if you're not a natural writer, that doesn't mean that you can't do this course. If you are a natural writer, that's also fine, but do be prepared that some of the things you do won't be writing based. Good. Any other questions? Oh, here's one. How does the application process work, and who should you be talking to about fee and schedule? So are you pointing at me? Not Amy. Okay. So the application process works. Basically, I think Caroline, if she hasn't already, should be sending you the application form. If for whatever reason you don't get it, it can be, I believe, downloaded from the website, or you could email me. I will put my email in the chat here, and you can email all questions that you have to me as well. I might pass you on to someone else if I can answer them, but I do know the answer to many of them. So basically, you send in your application form to admissions. They share it with me. We take a look to make sure you have the minimum credentials necessary, which is the equivalent in the UK, if you are a recent graduate, of 96 UCAS points. If you are not a recent graduate, we want to make sure that you have a certain level of qualifications. However, we do also take into consideration experience. So maybe you didn't have the best A levels, but you have worked in some really challenging jobs, you've got theater experience, etc., we would take that into consideration as well. We want to make sure you have, however, the minimum kind of capabilities of engaging in analysis, a minimum standard of writing. It's, you know, it wouldn't be fair for us to accept people onto the program who would really struggle. So we don't do that. But, you know, if you're worried about that, just have a chat with me. Sometimes it's a case of saying we think you should maybe do a foundation year first and then come back to us. We very rarely say it's an absolute no. We always, you know, we might say just try this first and then come back to us. But anyhow, so if you have the minimum qualifications, we then invite you to an online interview, which is conducted by me and a colleague. So we have 2 people doing interviews now. That will be online, and then we collect references, and then we make a decision based on all of that. It can be quite a quick process. So often students or potential students will send in their application form, we'll set up an interview for the following week. I get their references back really quickly and I can make a decision within a few days. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer depending on your references and so on, and our schedule in terms of interviews. In terms of the fee and schedule, if you email me, I can tell you a little bit more about the fees. There is if you're in the UK, obviously you can apply, well, in England, you can apply for student funding. If you're not in the UK, you will likely have to pay for it yourself, although some countries have a setup where you can, the loan company will pay the college directly. However, we do have like fee schedules, so you don't have to pay it in one big chunk. You can do it in installments and so on. We try our best to be as flexible as possible with the payments. And like I said, there's no different fees for international students. Everyone pays the same. Anything else? I'm going to take that as a no, but you do have my email address. Do please feel free to email me and ask me any questions. I'm really happy to discuss things with you. If you want to look into things like credit exemption and so on, I'm happy to share some information about that. But I hope to hear from you. It would be lovely to see your application in my inbox, and to eventually see you on the course. So thank you very, very much for joining us. Like I said, there is a recording, so if you want to go over any of the information, Caroline can share that with you. And that just leaves me to say goodbye.